episode 8 of Botch Wrestling Podcast. I'm Jim, that's Dan. This was the long awaited. This is what the fans have been clamoring for. All 5 subscribers have been clamoring for. Some have been calling this the argument that must be had. So, on that note, Dan, you've been teasing this for a little bit just because how you've been getting your, symptoms of being angry and tired all the time and hot flashes. So I'll let you start this one. What is your big topic that you wanted to start with?
This is the great belt debate.
The great
This,
belt debate. And
the great
this is not the
and
debate of the 10 worst belts like we've already had and which I was right about. This is clearly just discussing the legacy of the belt, correct?
yes,
Okay.
the current
The
belt
current.
situation
Okay. Now,
and how my opinion is Seth Rollins has a consolation prize belt.
all right, you and RFK. So here we go. There's one thing I wanted to bring up that I thought this would be key to just bring up before we get into this argument when I show everybody you're wrong and I'm right, as always. Um, Seth freaking Rollins. Sorry, Kevin Nash. I know you don't like freaking, but the fans love it, so take your chemability and calm down. Seth Rollins was on the Out of Character podcast where Ryan sat in this past week. And he took a major shot at your tribal chief. A major, major shot. Now, you said you did not hear what he said?
I did not hear this.
So, he was asked a question about the belt, right? And he basically came out and said, here's the thing. If Roman was doing what I'm doing, there wouldn't really be a need for a secondary championship. And I also, to build off this, I saw today it's been 106 days since Roman's had a title defense.
So he admits his championship is secondary.
He admits there would not be, based on how Roman feels the need to defend, if we're calling it that, how he has some ultimate privilege, which I know Seth is basically eye to eye with Roman with everybody backstage. Like, from what I've read and from what I can tell, maybe because of the bloodline, they give a little bit of an edge to Roman and whatnot. But for your champion to come out and say that to supposed to be what has been discussed as possibly the GOAT in the past year, I've been seeing everybody call him that, which I mean, let's calm down. You know what I mean? Let's calm down. Let's get off 2K24. Let's calm down. Get off my faction. You're not pulling his card. You're not doing a live event. That's ballsy. Thoughts? Just not discussing the legacy of the title yet, but just for that to basically come out in the beginning of a podcast, like, don't you think that should be the fuel that throws him basically some type of, I guess, like house show or some type of live event of, okay, this isn't belt for belt, but we're gonna see who's the better champion is, basically, and just have them go at it
Yeah.
as some stipulation. Because as soon as I heard and read this, I read it first, and I wanted to see what his facial expression was when he was putting this on camera, because you can tell if they're really into what they're saying. Like, they got that stoic look on their face. If they're just saying it to be part of the business, like, they're usually kind of smirking or whatnot. But he showed no emotion or no smile whatsoever. So I know it still eats at him that he feels his big time was when he got hurt, came back, won the belt, and then it's kind of like he never got back up there. So but I feel this would be a perfect starting point if you need something so the bloodline. should die down a little bit after SummerSlam, you think? This whole storyline? Or is it still going to be
I don't think so.
the
Me
first hour of
personally,
SmackDown every week?
I mean, I don't think it's gonna die down after SummerSlam because it's like I don't think they can have it die down because that's only in 3 weeks, right? So then what?
Right.
Now
Right.
could this be laying groundwork for Survivor Series? Seth and
This
Roman? Those I mean, prior to last year when they did War Games, you know, it was brand versus brand, but they did a version of champion versus champion,
right.
and they were all non-title
Right.
champion, you know, champion versus champion. They
Right.
could do that for you know brand supremacy again, or do a War Games match between brands with Seth, you know, captaining one team and Roman captaining the other, maybe,
Right.
or something to that effect for sure.
I just thought like I was thinking that as well, like as this just being like Bloodline's gonna be the big thing for a bit now, and it's gonna continue to be a big thing for a bit now, as we discussed on previous episodes. But I just thought that's a very like so if this is something to occur in the future, I thought that is some like that's a fast jump start for like one champion to come out and just all of a sudden his first big podcast, I guess you would say, besides doing WWE The Bump, he jumps right with that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like within 15 minutes of the podcast, I think he's already well. If Roman was the guy that I was, he would be doing what I'm doing. Like that's wild to me that you just had a champion come out and just like obliterate your other champion, and we've heard nothing back. I thought we would at least get something back.
Yeah.
But it's been quiet. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know you wanted to argue tonight when I'm all about being kind, but
I mean, I can be kind and still win this argument. So
no, not what you
I
said
mean,
about COVID.
I mean,
but
you just helped the argument. I mean, if that's what Seth said, like he's already admitting it.
well, I don't think the issue is it's a secondary championship. I think the issue is Paul's walking around with 3 belts for no reason.
Well, I would argue it's not for no reason, but we'll get into that.
Okay, so Dan, I know.
But what else could Seth mean as secondary championship?
Because I'm guessing he views it as being another heavyweight championship, and that would be the second heavyweight championship.
It's really the third.
Technically, but it depends how they discuss it backstage on the show notes, which we would never see until I get that job writing for WWE. Small plug.
Well, what they put out there, I mean, what they put out there on their product and on their website as part of their product, you know, Paul is still carrying the 2 belts. Roman's carrying the gold one.
Yes.
Now, when you go back to that ceremony where they gave him the gold one, Triple H actually doesn't say it's a new championship. He says it's basically a recognition and an honor of his reign, his 1,000-day reign.
Right.
Basically.
Right. It was just like
So-
a prize, basically, for that.
Right. So it's just like a commemorative belt almost.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go on the WWE website, so not too long ago, when I first started this argument, when it listed on the Superstars page, and you know,
Yeah.
one of these days we'll have to figure out how to embed a screen or something too. You go on to the Superstars page, and it used to, as of a few weeks ago, list Roman twice, show his picture twice with both belts. It doesn't do that anymore. So I will say they've changed that one part of it. It only shows him with the gold belt now. Then it shows Seth with his belt. The problem is there's 2 things. If you click on Roman and go to his page on the WWE website, he is listed as the WWE champion, as currently carrying the WWE Championship, and the Universal Championship
Right.
on his actual his bio page. Now he's pictured with the gold belt, but the belts he's currently carrying are two. Any other champion, when you go to, it's only got their one, obviously. When you actually click into those pages to see the championships and the reigns, the Universal Championship is still active, 2016 to present. The WWE Championship is still active, 1963 to present. The World Heavyweight, 2023 to present. No other belt that's not active anymore shows that, right? The like the 24/7 championship shows 2019 to 2022. The NXT Women's Tag Team Championship has an end date on it now. You know, you can go through any of them basically.
The Heritage Cup's still there. That's funny. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, the Heritage Cup. Yep. You know, so you can go into this, and the way they're still presenting it is that Roman is a dual champion, and there are 3 championships that are currently active. And what's funny is I don't know. I think they melded it in. So what I'm trying to figure out on this lineage is when they had the big gold belt again as a world heavyweight championship back when they split it before.
So the Batista belt from 2002 to 2013. Yeah.
But the one they gave to Hunter, right? They gave it to
him. 2002 to 2013. It says here.
That's the WCW one, though. That's recognized.
That's the big gold one you're talking about, correct?
Oh, World Heavyweight title, yes. 2002 to 2013. So they retired that out of there.
Yeah.
They're not even counting that anymore in one of these lineages. So not only is South Belt clearly a brand new title that has no lineage, it's not assuming the old lineage.
Right.
But they have the other 2 that are still out there. So I mean, it's definitely a third title that they created, which to me makes it a consolation prize. And I don't know what they're doing here, because what is the need for the third title? Like, it would have made sense if they would have just said, you know, we're combining these 2 belts because you've held them for so long. You're undisputed WWE Universal Championship, which is how they are champion, which is how they've been announcing him for what, a year or more, 2 years. So however long he's had it, right? And so I don't know what they're doing there, but they've definitely made it a third title. So now they have 2 brands with 3 titles. Unless, I don't know, are they going to retire the NXT?
I mean,
put one of these into NXT maybe eventually?
Could be 3 brands with 4 titles if you count the NXT title.
Well, right, 3 brands with 4. But
yeah, I get what you're saying, right?
So I don't know what they're doing here, but I mean they definitely have 3 titles, and unfortunately for Seth, that to me just looks like a consolation title because they made it because they couldn't figure out how to get it off Roman properly or how to split them.
Well, they screwed it up.
Yeah. So, but their fix was to just make a new one.
Right. And supposedly this belt is to pay homage to Bruno Sammartino. And he's the only one that's listed as to pay homage in there. If you click in any of Roman's belts, it says Bruno, Andre the Giant, Bret Hart, The Rock, and Stone Cold for his black belt. And then it basically said that the Universal title then switched to a blue brand with The Fiend from Bray's 2019 victory over Seth.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I did. I don't know. I did. Like, we did agree when we started talking about this that I did find it a little bit weird, just because I thought when they were going to do the celebration, like they would come out and say something about it. Not just, here, you haven't worked 200 days within 1,000 days, let's give you a prize. And I think, I don't know. So I read that Brian Gerowitz book that I lent to you, that you're probably still not done with yet. Um, and he said in the book, there's a passage in the book where he says, like, the people backstage basically read everything on the internet. Like they know everything. So I'm wondering if they saw, like, because at this time prior to that, like there was a lot of talk in all the like the big podcasts, not just ours. Subtle, you know, little bump in the ratings there. Um, and all the podcasts and like Fightful and wrestling dudes were all talking about, like, does Roman not defend that title enough for you to actually care about it? So I'm wondering if they got nervous about that factor. Like, yes, they were happy. Well, they were finishing Vince's plan of Roman getting past 1,000 days. I'm still, I still don't believe that that was a Hunter plan from the get go. I think that was Vince's sole priority. A is to get Roman over 1,000 days to say that he broke the record or whatever. I think, as we read back then, Hunter was just doing his part to help fulfill what Vince wanted to finish. Um, so when they first thought this, like, I thought we were at least gonna get some explanation on how this correlates to how things are gonna go, how things have went, but it was just kind of like, here, you beat the game. Here's the ultimate prize in the game, or whatever. So then I kind of thought about it for a couple days, and I moved on from the point is, I'm wondering if they saw everybody saying Roman doesn't show up enough, so who cares? And then they're like, we need a working man's title. But then I'm wondering, but then I thought, because of how we discussed how you came around on how they screwed everything up between Cody, like, is Cody gonna get the working man title before the shot at Roman? But then that completely destroys the story with Roman.
Right. I mean, what they could have done, which I guess they could still try to do if they're really going to drag this out, is they could have had Cody win, and then Cody could be defending the belt separately, which is, what they probably should have done to solve this problem, instead of just making a third title. And now your issue is you have a third title hanging around. And, like, this World Heavyweight Championship, like, I can't imagine they're going to give it the treatment like they did 24/7 and just kind of randomly retire it. Like, it won't make sense. Like, now, can they combine it? I suppose. But again, to do that, you have to choose to split the way the championships are being defended by Roman. So,
Right.
all
Well,
that is.
and my whole thing was, Cody said he was gonna bring back the winged eagle, right? The winged eagle belt.
Did he actually say it? I know everybody pretty much assumes
I
that because of
I
what he
thought
did
he
with the Intercontinental.
I thought that's what he said on Twitter, that he wanted to bring that belt back.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, he did it with the Intercontinental, which, so why wouldn't he do it?
Yeah, so I guess got Wrestling World talking when apparently teased bringing back the winged eagle belt. So here's the thing. This is why I kind of thought. Let me find Enrico again. Sorry.
I mean,
So
to do that, he has to beat Roman.
but here's the thing. This. So my reason into why I thought he was gonna get this heavyweight championship belt was, this belt supposedly has a winged eagle design to it.
What belt?
The World Heavyweight Championship belt. Seth's belt, supposedly. It says in the description right here, the title was designed with a unique feature that features that include the 3 lions to symbolize the McMahon family crest, a crown to pay homage to Bruno Sammartino, and an eagle as a callback to the original winged eagle design of the WWE Championship. Diamonds, the filigree, and the rope trim.
So it just has an eagle on it, but it's not. It's not like.
It says it's in there. So that's
Yeah,
so
I mean, it says it has an eagle in there. It doesn't have like the eagle design. It just has
no,
an
but it's a
eagle on it.
they're saying that's why it does. It's a callback to it.
No, I understand,
So
but I mean
that's
that's just a callback.
so
Like,
that's why I
you know,
thought this was going to be the working man's belt. Cody's going to take this off of Seth. He's going to do this working man type of gimmick for a bit, and then at Mania next year we get this, which I hope is not the case.
yeah, I mean, it's I mean, it wouldn't make sense for Cody to win that title and change it to be the winged eagle, because it's not in the lineage of the winged eagle. Whether it's paying tribute to it, that's fine. It's paying tribute to it, great, but it's not in the lineage, so it would
No,
be stupid to change it. Like,
right,
it's
but
because that's not the winged eagle was the WWE championship, not
right,
the or WWF, right? Like,
right.
not the world heavyweight. So
Yeah, but I'm
it
just
would
thinking
be.
for their part, did they think they were combining it? Did they think they were getting ready to set something up? And then that's basically just what adds to the confusion because I don't think they know what they want to do. Or I think they realized they screwed up, and then all of a sudden that's why we got that belt.
How do you screw that up?
We saw it at WrestleMania.
No, but I mean, but they chose to do that. Like,
Yes.
nobody thought ahead of time, like, introducing this belt was going to cause a problem with the fact that Roman has two and we're going to make a third. Like, nobody over there thought, well, we're going to have to understand the lineage. Is this going to take over a lineage of a different one? Like,
Well, it depends. Did they have some idea what they wanted to do? And Vincent Kennedy McMahon came back and something got changed? Is that what happened? Because he was changing everything else.
maybe. I brought up a picture and I zoomed in on it. The eagle itself is right above. It's hard to see,
Yeah.
but the eagle itself is right above the world, the plate that says world, and it's literally just an eagle that's sitting there with its wings out. But and then yeah, I see the lions and the crest thing like on each side of it. I get that, and the rope trim. That the I forget who I was listening to that said this. Um, this belt has a lot more intricate design to it that you can't. They never like. I think they did a terrible job of like explaining or
Showing that
showing
part?
like
Yeah.
because I didn't realize now until I'm zooming it in and you said it about the rope. I didn't even realize that was there. It outlines all the side plates and the front plate,
So,
and
yeah. Go on.
it's. I mean, I'm just saying it's.
No, I get it. I get why you say this feels like a secondary belt because Roman was not in the tournament, so he technically wasn't beat, and now it's just like anybody can win this title off of Seth, and then they're the heavyweight champion. I can see that logic to it. My whole thing is I'm seeing this as more of I'm not concerned with the legacy. I'm seeing this as another screw up from WWE because I think remember back before this time around Mania 2 when they were talking about the TV deals and what was coming up that we saw a couple of articles that said basically both stations or both networks wanted a belt, like they wanted a big belt. So I'm wondering if they were forced into this to be like, we want a belt, and WWE is like, well, we don't want to screw up the Bloodline storyline.
they were forced into it for sure, but it's their own fault because they basically I think what the problem is they've made Roman unbeatable.
Right.
The only people that are believable now to beat him were Cody and Jay, probably. And I don't think they're gonna have Jay win the
I
championship.
don't think either.
So like that's their real problem is that they don't have a viable way that's believable that people will get behind for Roman to drop the title to. And so they found themselves having to make a third belt, and it's just played off poorly because they just did it terribly, which goes back to why now, knowing what we know today, WrestleMania was a bad outcome. And they should have given it to Cody then. They could have solved so many problems. Um, unless there's some grand plan. I mean, and plus on top of that,
Okay, so
Roman didn't.
stop right there.
Oh,
What would be your grand plan then, from like here on out? What would you do? Is your big grand plan to like try and fix the confusion with the belt and try and fix blah blah blah?
I mean,
Because
now,
that can be packed in pretty well. So I want to hear what you guys say.
yeah, I mean, I think now, I don't even know for sure, but like without thinking about it for a little bit longer, I think the quick plan is you basically like you figure out who Roman's going to drop it to, assuming somebody like Cody, right? And you have him drop it, and you have the new champion retire the Universal Championship and hold the WWE one. And now you have the WWE and the World Heavyweight, which is believable and better. The Universal one was just the stupid Raw belt, then turned SmackDown belt, right? Like, so you just basically have that champion come out and retire it and say, like, the only like, I don't know, maybe you don't say this, but basically say the championship that matters is the WWE championship, right? Or you have the company say they're retiring it, whatever.
Right.
Maybe it leads to a new design, or as part of, if it's Cody bringing the winged eagle back, you say this is the championship now, and you kind of just let the Universal Championship fade away into the sunset, and or maybe it leads to a brand new design, and that's your, instead of doing what you did with Roman this time with more of a commemorative belt type idea. Now you've just said this is the new, even if you want to call it WWE Universal Champion, whatever, you could combine the names. But something like that. I think that's the only way you can do it now. The other point I was going to make is that Roman didn't need the belt to do the bloodline breaking apart story. Losing the belt could have been the beginning of the bloodline civil war, because it's more, I mean, it's still very believable. It's a good story. It's a good program so far, but the catalyst to it could have been you're not the champion anymore. You're not the big dog.
Right.
The head of the table is up for grabs now. You know, it's disputed now whether or not you're the top of our family because you lost what makes you the top of the business.
Right.
So he didn't need the championship to do it. I That's why originally I didn't have a problem with WrestleMania because I didn't think they were going to split him and Cody. So Cody could have kept chasing, and they could have left the Bloodline Civil War for later. Um, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they stretch it to WrestleMania now, though.
Right. That's yeah.
It's a lot of time if they're going to wait all the way to WrestleMania,
Right.
To stretch that. But because I mean, well, at SummerSlam, he's probably going to be facing Jay, and I assume that's going to be a championship match, right? So I don't think Jay's going to beat him. I mean, I'd be shocked. Yeah, I think I'd be shocked. I think I'd be shocked.
But what if that's what brings the bloodline back together?
Well, I still believe that long term,
They come back
this
together.
is not the, yeah. I think that long term, Roman comes back on top of the bloodline. They all fall back in line, and assuming they still have plans for him and Cody, that's how you get him back to this status of powerful, unbeatable, got a faction behind him, and then you bring in Cody. So, I mean, I don't know how long they're going to stretch that, but depending on what their plans are for, I don't know, they haven't announced if they're doing war games for Survivor Series,
Yeah, they
but
didn't yet.
depending on their plans for Survivor Series, maybe you're bringing in maybe maybe that's the time frame to get them back together in time for a Survivor Series type deal.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think they hold another draft next year? Because the draft was in April.
right after WrestleMania,
Yeah.
right?
So do you think they hold
Um,
another draft?
Probably. I mean, it's their yearly way to.
And then do they put them both back on the same roster?
Um, well, if they do the draft prior to WrestleMania, but the buildup has got to be better than that, though. So they
Correct.
can't do it.
Correct. I
They
agree.
can't.
But I just thought,
So
yeah. I just want, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I agree with the storytelling that you had. I feel like that's one of the only ways. That's the quickest and only way to make it happen. We've discussed this before, but I wanted to see if your thoughts had changed on it. But I agree. I don't know. I'm okay with everybody that has an issue with the legacies of the belt. I have not been griping on that. I just think it's more of we're back to them not being able to get out of their own way again. And I don't know if it's because Vince is back, so everything that he's been changing has been screwing stuff up, and he's been getting into the storylines. As we've seen, there's been, what, a handful of Raws where he hasn't even been in the building. He's called in through Skype, and he's basically rewritten the whole show himself on Skype. So, like, it's just kind of like what they had working for him, the Bloodline, and I felt like a lot of what they were doing was working for them. But then, like, something occurred, and I don't know if we'll ever know what occurred. I don't know if there will ever be a tell-all book. I hope there will be. But, uh, like, something
I
occurred.
hope. I hope. I hope Vince writes it.
Oh,
The
that,
tell all.
yeah. I'm the greatest human ever. Um,
Or Bruce. Bruce is probably the last guy left that's been with them the longest.
yeah. Um, but like I definitely feel like that's why it's changed some of the stuff that we've dealt with. Like I definitely feel like this is what the disconnect has been. So I get the legacies of the belts. I'm not too concerned with it because for some reason I still watch every week hoping that there's going to be some streamline that brings us together. And I don't know how far down the road that I'm going to be like, okay, this is never coming. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because, you know what? Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. I think it's because the Bloodline stuff is still good. So with the Bloodline stuff still being good, that's just enough to get me through believing that they can still figure this out somehow. But if the Bloodline stuff ever starts to go down, then I'm going to be like, all right, I agree that we are lost with Cody and Roman. I thought that was the stupid thing to do with the draft. You could still have Brock attack Kobe, still attack Cody if him and Roman are on the same rosters. There's Brock's a free agent. He can show up anywhere. Once again, for the last 20 years, he's been a free agent doing whatever he wants. So I don't think them putting them on the same roster would have gotten rid of the Cody Brock stuff that Cody has to go through the pain to get to the top. That still could have occurred. You still could have had him on the same roster. Roman makes a comment every week how Cody's getting the crap beat out of him by Brock. And those two stories still can, occur horizontally until one night there's that big crossover and then it all explodes. But I don't know if they. I was. I was reading, I forget, was it Fansided or somewhere else? Another thought that crossed my mind is I wonder if they put Cody on separate rosters to protect the bloodline. Because I wondered if they thought Cody would get too big to take away from whatever they were trying to do with the bloodline. But then again, that's an opportunity of them not getting out of their own way. And it screws it up.
Maybe.
So, but
Maybe.
I
I
get you.
mean,
I get your point with the belts. I know you're one of those dirt cheap legacy guys that everything has to follow the way it is.
it's not
Women's,
about the legacy for me, just to make it clear. It's
it's
not
the
about the
common sense
legacy.
of it, correct?
It's the fact that they have 3 belts now and they like just made up a belt for because were they were too dumb to figure out an exit plan for Roman.
So if you
So they just made a belt up. I mean, and the belt, the name of it is fine, and like the design of it I don't love, but it's growing on me. But like they make this belt up and they make it just the world heavyweight champion. It's got and it's brand new.
yeah,
I don't care that it has no lineage, but the fact that it has no lineage just cements to me like this was a consolation prize for people to fight and defend, for somebody to have and defend as a champion so they could say they have a fighting champion because they were too dumb to figure out what to do with Roman and they've just backed themselves into a corner. So it just bothers me that they just made a third belt that like now they've made the problem worse because I can't imagine they're going to keep 3 belts around forever. It makes no sense. 3 belts on 2 major brands. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
it's wild. It's then again there was an article that came out yesterday, the day before. Judgment Day is going to be staying in NXT for a while.
With a Money in the Bank briefcase holder and a world champion, they're going to stay on NXT.
But they're going to be in NXT for a while. Yeah,
God,
the Judgment Day will remain in WWE NXT for a while on Ringside News. Yeah.
Okay.
So, then again, can't get out of their own way. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, for sure. So, like you said though, it's not the lineage that bothers me, it's the having 3 championships
I get it. I get it.
that bothers me.
I get that point. I get it.
The lineage just helps prove it, like that they're doing it stupidly too. Like,
but you know how they fix this though? Bring back the 24/7 title.
sure.
Make it the all-day title. Any day, all
By the
day.
way, did you scroll through all the different belts on the website?
Not tonight, but I have before. Yes.
I didn't realize that. So neither of the women's championships. So the one that they just gave Rhea, the women's world championship, they put that with a different lineage. So it says 2016, which is interesting, which is fine. I think it's good that they move the women's championships to split like the men, where they're not based on brand anymore.
Right.
They're just. I think that was the right move. So they both have 2016 to present as their lineage, and the old women's championship, not the Divas one, but the old women's championship, which dates back to 1956, was retired in 2010. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And just as a fun fact, when you read that lineage, Fabulous Moolah held that belt for 10,000 days.
Which one? The 1956 one? Yeah.
She was the first champion. She held it for almost 30 years. She's held it for 28 years. from September 18th, 1956 to July 23rd, 1984, and she lost it to Wendy Richter. So I just thought that was funny because
Yeah.
I actually never realized that. Like,
So technically, Roman is 9,000 plus off. She got to catch.
yeah,
He got to catch
yeah.
her.
She blows Bruno out of the water too.
Yeah, Bruno, who at this point?
It's funny that they never talk about that with her. Like they talk about
Yeah.
Moolah, but they've never, at least that I can remember, they've never talked about her reign as a champion. But
Oh, they have not. That's weird. It's probably like one of those unwritten things you can't discuss, like CB and a Bible.
oh, Jim.
What? Just saying. I'm trying to see if there's any interviews out there for. Supposedly, Bleach Report did an article on it about her, but not anything from WWE like endorsed.
Well, so the funny part about it is that
So Sportskeeda says Fabulous Moolah was 3,651 days.
yeah, so it sounds like WWE because I'm looking it up now. It sounds like WWE is just recognizing old lineage. So this article I'm reading says that she won it in 56 in the 13-woman battle royal, and it shared a lineage with the NWA World's Women's Champion. She was not immediately recognized by everyone as NWA champion because Billy Wolf, whom she had a conflict earlier in her career, still controlled the promotion. After the match, Vince McMahon Sr. dubbed her with a new ring name, the Fabulous Moolah. So this kind of goes all the way back to NWA.
Yeah.
And this says that she wasn't officially recognized until 1964, even though she had a belt from 56 on. So maybe that's where Sportskeeda is getting that.
Right, probably. Yeah, that's what it looks like over here. So that makes sense, I guess. I mean, yeah. But then again, like I don't think they've ever did a good job of like protecting this type of stuff. It seemed to be just crazy all over. So, but I mean, when you have
Yeah, I mean, certainly later in, I mean, I'm trying to think of that's a good question. Like when did the title lineages like start like going crazy, right? Like I'm trying to think like so you had like
was
Hogan
it
Warrior.
bought? What was it when they bought WCW? That's when everything just went up in the air, legacy wise.
Yeah, I guess that must be, right?
Because then
like
everything's combined one.
2001, 2002, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, is that
I
the
yeah, I
match that
guess
started the fire?
Right, because that's what would have led to an undisputed belt
And all the chaos.
yeah, I guess that's when it stopped.
So 22 years and they still can't plan this out correctly.
Right. Right. Well, and they've done. I mean, and they've done it before. They've had this problem.
No, I know,
before.
but right, but like 22 years and they still can't get this done correctly.
I mean, how many times have they split the belts and brought them back together some way or another? Right? Like you had undisputed champion, and wasn't Jericho carrying two belts for a while, and then they made it one belt, or was that somebody else I'm thinking of that was carrying two, and then they made it one?
He was carrying two.
Or so then somebody else made
He
it
had
one.
he having won the undisputed WWF Championship once and the WCW Championship twice and the World Heavyweight Championship 3 times. I think this article says, but it looked like he had the two belts and the Miz did. Oh Jesus Christ! Don't tell me the Miz did too. No, yeah. So yeah, Jericho did. You are correct. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just to put a button on this, like, it's sad. 22 years and they still can't figure this out. They have a road team of writers, and then they got a home team of writers, and they got a away team of writers. The away team goes on the road. Do they need to come up with a home team of belt guys and an away of belt guys that can handle everything on the road that changes with the belts, and they report back to the home guys? Like,
Apparently.
because for 22 years they still can't get this right and make it less confusion.
Yeah.
But so it is what it is. But I get your point with this, Dan. It's not really an argument with for the fans, so I apologize. But
No, this was very anticlimactic.
I don't. I've never been big into the legacy of the belts. Like you said, I am more on the common sense of just make it make sense. And it hasn't been for a while. So I think that's why I'm kind of used to it, to where it really didn't bug me. But you obviously have been on level 10 lately when I've been on a level 3. So,
I mean, it just bugs me. There's three, and I feel bad for Seth that he kind of just got like the belt that they made out of thin air because they were too stupid to figure out how to get the belts off Roman.
right. Right. Um
And possibly because this problem, my final thought is this problem is exacerbated by the fact that they want Cody to take it from Roman. Because what they could have done is just have Seth take it from Roman. If they were worried about like getting Seth back into a championship, then let Seth beat him. You know, like I don't know, or bring back, you know, when Orton's ready, bring back Randy and let him do it. But if they're trying to keep it for Cody, then this has part of the reason this is worse. So
yeah.
anyway,
So side note, we're an hour into Collision and Bullet
we're
Club
still
Gold,
on the first match.
yeah, is the first hour. So I don't want to hear anybody talking about Bloodline taking up too much time of SmackDown.
But there was no wrestling in Bloodline.
One deserves an Emmy, one deserves a shower.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong there. I'm
Thank you.
just saying
Oh,
it was just
put that on record.
35
Dan
minutes.
said that Jim was right. July 15th, 16 days before my birthday and Harry Potter's birthday, that I was right. You're welcome,
Listen,
world.
you win some, you lose some. I won the first one. You're gonna win the second one.
I don't know if you can't see it back there, but that big diamond shining thing back there means I always win. Unless you talk to my wife. Um, so, there's another topic. Are we done on this now?
Yes, we're done on this.
Okay. There's another topic that I wanted to bring up. Um, in regards to the competitor of WWE, WWF, or since Dan's butthurt about the belts, WCW wannabe WWF, AEW. We'll get to discussing the blood and guts thing. What I wanted to discuss, two things. Seems like the ratings bounced back, correct? From what everything I read.
Yeah, certainly not as good as the debut episode, but
Nothing's ever gonna be though, right?
I no, and I think better, you know, more along what they're probably expecting. I think they're hoping for 600,000 every Saturday, like somewhere in there. And you know, they were just below that, I think. But they were ranked, if I read it right, they were like ranked 5th overall for the day on cable and 3rd overall in the time slot up against baseball and UFC, I think.
Right. So I'm trying to find the article that I had because it went away from me. Uh, but there is an article that came out that AEW will be administrating some changes to the shows. Do you remember who had that article, Dan? Of the drastic changes?
Of the moves.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this
didn't
is a big.
Fightful have it?
What's up?
Or didn't Fightful have it? I mean, they all had it eventually, but who broke it? Fightful, I think.
Let me see if I can find this. But yeah, there were certain things that they weren't gonna be able to do. Um, and the thing that caught me off guard was the blood. So, uh, how do you sit Moxley down and you tell him this? Because he looks like he bleeds wiping his ass sometimes, the way he's just going. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if they were at a point. I don't know if they were at a point that they had to do this. Were you? Like, do you think it was the backlash from Omega and Osprey that did them in?
No. Well, no, I don't think so. I'm sure it didn't help because the conversation came up. Like, obviously, it was a big point of conversation, right? Like,
Right.
even Brian Danielson's having to talk about it after the match, like, or after the show. Um,
Well, in every podcast the past 2 weeks since the show, they've been talking about it.
yeah. I'm sure that helped, like, get the conversation going. But I don't know if it's only a direct result of that. Um,
Here, I found it. Yeah, so. Let me just pull this up real quick.
by the way, did you know AEW has a Battle of the Belts on right after Collision?
On TNT?
Yeah, I think it's taped.
Oh, good. So this match will be 2 hours long.
Well, they've got Punk and Ricky Starks.
So we're going to get a 2-match show for this.
Maybe it's not taped.
Before I get back into this, what do you. Well, FTR just pulled it out. I think.
I don't know. My feed's delayed.
Oh, that's right. You live in Orchard Park. So back to this article. The list of the banned moves and actions: chair shots to the head, chair shots to the back of the head, which I don't think I've seen chair shots to the back of the head in AEW. Buckle
Some of these
bombs,
things,
which
yeah, some of these things you don't see. They haven't done a lot of. They haven't done. I haven't seen headshots either since. I don't know that I've seen a headshot in a while.
So
I mean,
buckle
they
bombs,
throw chairs.
which is specifically Samoa Joe. Moves where the wrestler falls backwards into a turnbuckle, imitating the concussion or seizure symptoms while selling a move, spitting, bleeding while in the crowd, using weapons or projectiles in the crowd, throwing anything with blood on it into the crowd, taking food and drinks from fans in the crowd, making contact with the fans in the crowd. So the last two are MJF. These would require special approval. Spots and bumps on the ring apron and outside, table, ladder, and chairs. Oh my! Spots in and out of the ring. Any elevated spots outside of the barricades, dives, ladder spots on stage, around the arena, and other places outside the ring. All pile driver, tombstone variations, sit down drivers, inverted slash poison hurricanrana, and vertebrae breakers. High risk dives are top moves. 450, 630, double moonsault, SSP. Intentional bleeding, the Moxley rule. Throwing people into, through, or over the ring steps, commentary table, bell table, or guardrails or barricades. That is mind boggling to me. Weapons. Throwing any weapon or object, chairs, choking, strangling with hands. Darby and Brody just did that. The choking.
Yeah, I mean, I one of the theories I have too is that this list was already in existence and has just been updated recently and it's being spun as it's brand new.
Did you think
And
this? Yeah.
my guess is everything that's on the needs prior approval is kind of one of those, hey, we're gonna do this, thanks, and they keep walking, right? Like, it's not like, because like we already know that there's not, well, as far as we know, there's not a lot of like producing going on ahead of time. There's very little producing. There's quote unquote agents, but they don't work the way it works somewhere else. But I thought one of the articles said too, part of this is also to help stop repeat like high spots and finishes on the same show. Right? Like, how many times do you need to see, you know,
A
a
shattered
chair,
ankle.
that too? How many times do you need to see a chair get launched at someone from across the ring? If you see it 5 times a night, who the frick cares anymore? So that was part of it, I think. But my guess is that this what somewhat already existed has been updated and then got leaked, and it's seemingly a bigger deal than it is.
So, do you think this came down for the WB? Because here's my thought. Everything's gonna start getting finalized with WB because of the writer's strike and now the actors going on strike. There was a union executive yesterday or Thursday, that got caught saying this strike will end when union leaders start losing their houses. And this studio executive said they were not planning to even remotely resume talks till the end of October. So the only thing that's going to be on is sports and wrestling, basically, with everything else being a rerun. So to me, like, I thought it was weird when the article came out. I thought it was somewhat of a leak. I was confused because I'm like, they're talking about bleeding, but Moxley can't even take a shit without bleeding. Like,
I mean,
and
I'm sure WB has a part in it. I'm sure there's quote unquote standards and practices. But having said that, that can't be new. They've been on WB.
no, I'm
been,
I'm guessing it did get updated or it started to be enforced more. But now that I've been following like the strike stuff, this seems to me like they're getting ready to finalize something. That like we're hearing about this again because we heard about this like 6 months ago, I think, right? That they said some stuff you can't do and some stuff the approval only. So to me, it sounds like with this being finalized, that like we're gonna wake up one day and Tony's gonna make $2 billion on AEW being on HBO Max, because it seems like this would be the first step in them starting to finalize. Okay, we're gonna put you guys over here, but this is what we expect.
Yeah.
So so then it made the article more interesting than concerning. But I did love all of the comments that if AEW takes all this stuff away, then what are they? Just WWE all over again? But it's like, I mean, I don't know.
WWE had blood the other night, right? Was it a week or two ago on one of the shows there was blood, remember?
Yes. So, I don't know. I mean, but the other thing I thought about, too, that the story, like, also became interesting to me was we heard how he basically has a team. Like, Tony has a team now working with him on Collision. Like, he's not doing this anymore. Like, he's not, like, the only one in charge of this show anymore. So I'm wondering if...
I mean, at some point, that guy has to, like, sleep. So,
or
like, yeah.
burn out. Yeah, either way, he has to shut down. But...
Right, it makes sense to me that, like, he has to give up control of certain things because... I mean, how much more can he do? And with all the and he's doing all the Ring of Honor still.
Right. So my thing is like, I don't know. The WWE usuals have have been commenting since day one that Tony can't streamline stuff and get it into order that it runs smoothly. So this the first big step of Tony basically somewhat getting a staff around him and streamlining stuff and saying, "Listen, we all need to be on the same exact page because this is how I kind of want this to work, and if we all work this way, we will be fine." That's the other thing that crossed my mind. I don't think if we'll ever truly know unless we wake up 3 days from now and all of a sudden everything at AEW is on HBO. But
And can we just talk for a second about the irony of this is all coming out days before they have a blood and guts match
well,
on Dynamite?
that was gonna be my next point too. Like,
Okay,
yeah,
good lead in then. Like, what are we doing here?
well,
Like,
and Sheeta said this AEW Blood and Guts will be unprecedented. So if you already have these two massive teams basically saying we're going all out.
right. But I mean, all the stuff that they would make it unprecedented and all the bleeding and all that crap, that's on the just needs approval list. Like, yeah, they won't, I guess they won't be doing pile drivers on the ring apron, but there's a cage anyway, so you can't do it, um, but I'll be interested to see. What you might not see is Sammy being thrown off the top of the cage this time.
Right, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Or Chris, right? Chris did it too. Which is funny that they
Right.
have this too, though, because with the well, that was Ring of Honor where what's his face twisted his ankle, but um, Jericho going off the cage, Sammy going off the cage, um, a couple other big spots they've had, all had clearly had crash pads. They've never been shy about making those
No.
big spots. I mean, but then again, Cody went off the cage on basically a moonsault, right? Uh, broke his foot, if I remember correctly, right? Or broke his toe, I think. Um, Sting, right, went off of Sting onto that table thing, but a while ago, remember when Sting did the drop onto Jeff Hardy? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
from the side of the building, right?
Yeah, when they were outside, yeah, there was like a outside brawl,
Yeah, it
and
was
he,
in
yeah,
like
yeah, in the
the
concourse
walkway.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the word for it. Yeah. And he climbed up the ladder or whatever and he kind of like scooched over. And then he's like,
right.
"Okay, I'm going to fall now."
And then didn't Darby do a coffin drop onto a bunch of chairs, or something onto Jeff Hardy too?
Yeah,
So like
once a week.
they yeah, it is interesting because certain spots they've like the Chris one and then the Sammy one, like it was clear that they had a lot of stuff to break those falls. But then they have these other things with Darby and Sting that they don't take any precaution for. I mean, the Sting like leaping out onto the announcers table or whatever, or the two tables, like whatever. I didn't have a problem with that. So many people were so like, "Oh, what's he trying to do?" Like he just didn't jump far enough or high enough. That's all. The
Yeah, he
tables were a
didn't
little
get
too
up
far
enough
out.
enough.
Like it wasn't really. I mean, like yeah, I know he hurt himself, but it really wasn't that like it wasn't like some crazy spot. I mean, if you're gonna talk about spots Sting shouldn't be doing, he's done a lot crazier spots in the last year than that one. The one with Jeff Hardy. Remember the one in the was it? It wasn't Anarchy in the Arena, was it? It was the one where he like was up in the crowd and he went flying into a couple of tables. That was a further drop than the Jeff Hardy one.
Yeah.
He jumped off of like the top from where like the tunnel entrance for like the basketball team.
Right. Right.
But like I don't know. They I think it's probably I don't know that we're gonna see a material change to the show. But honestly, I think they should bleed less in general. They do it too much to begin with. Like they oversaturate that angle. And that's not even like including Moxley. Before Moxley gets out there, they do it too much. It's just that he does it all the time.
Right.
Um, so I don't know that we're going to see a huge change to their product. I think there's just a little bit more of it's maybe too maybe it is more of Warner Brothers saying like, well, listen, you got to have a policy in place. Okay, here's a policy. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
look, I mean,
anything can't be as
the
bad as Moxie taking chopsticks to the cranium. So,
no, no, for sure.
which,
And
side note, I don't even know how that crosses your goddamn mind. Out of all the
to do
things,
that,
huh?
to do that,
Yeah, like, you could do thumbtacks, you could do, like, the exploding shoe again, fire on a table, double table, like, chair on a table. But having that stuck in your head, like, just wild to me. But, and now that we got Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho, Willow gave Ruby a couple backwards elbows, three of them, to the back of her skull. So, once again, make it make sense, alright? That's all I'm asking.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think too, like maybe the move with Kenny and Will Osprey
It
brought it up a
sparked a
little
lot.
bit.
It did spark a lot because one of our favorite podcasts has dropped down quite a bit in respect for me on this. We could go and talk about that now, or what else you want to talk about AEW?
I mean, I'm interested to see where they go from here. The Owen Hart thing is ending tonight. I want to see what's next for Punk, like
Right.
in general, what they're going to do with that. I want to
That's the
hope that
big thing,
momentum
right?
keeps going. Right. Like, I assume he's going to win. Maybe not. I don't know. Like, I think I said last time I could see them, like, I could see him doing the job for Ricky to just, like, help him a little bit. I don't know if they will or not. Um, but then I want to see what's next. I don't know if he goes back into something with Joe. I mean, I think he's also still kind of like, I think Jay White. They've been kind of teasing something there, even though Jay's been kind of feuding with FTR, but Punk's been in part of that. So I don't know what they're doing there.
This is so.
But I want to see that.
Willow. Side note: Willow just did a step up enziguri to the side of Ruby's head. Right, catches her clean. Both fall over. Camera all of a sudden pans to the Owen Hart Trophy for women's. Like, like what is the cameraman do? Like, oh, makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. But whatever. It just is what it is. Um, yeah, and I'm excited for Blood and Guts next week. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna
I'm
be
excited.
unprecedented. Unprecedented.
We'll see.
Unprecedented.
We
I
will
would like
see.
to get the Punk Joe feud to continue, but I would also wouldn't mind if we just hurry up and jump into Punk FTR versus the Elite, and we go from there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is that gonna happen? I don't. There was that story out there that Punk said he should be the fifth guy in Blood and Guts, or he offered, and allegedly Moxley wasn't, you know, didn't have an issue with it, but ultimately they didn't do it.
Can you
That
imagine?
could have
Can you
that. I mean, I would have gone crazy for that. I would have thought that would have been great, like because it could have jumped, like you just said, it would jumpstart that right there. Him and the Elite, him and Kenny, him and the Bucks, him and Page, and then FTR can slide in, and after the Blood and Guts, like he doesn't have to stay with Moxley and all them to keep doing it.
right?
But that that story though, I feel like they're probably, if they're going to do that, they're probably holding it to lead up to something much bigger, right? Like
Wembley.
they don't need They don't need it for Wembley though,
No, they don't.
right?
But
Like they don't need anything for Wembley. They sold the tickets without a goddamn match, you know?
yeah, they did. It's all So
There's not a single match on that card yet, and they just put up more seats again.
yeah.
I gotta look if there's been news lately on it because
Wait till
there.
you see this kick out from Willow Nightingale after the spray can incident. Jesus. But yeah, so um but have you still been enjoying what AEW has been doing?
You called that a kick out?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. I didn't watch Dynamite last week.
I didn't watch it either.
Um,
I read the reviews, but I didn't watch it. You could tell SmackDown went kind of soft when they open up with a Bianca and Charlotte promo. And then all of a sudden they go to the Brawling Brutes and Pretty Deadly. And I'm like, all right, this is enough SmackDown for me tonight. So I was like following it the way you would follow sports on the ticker. I would turn back in and blah blah blah, go back out, turn back in.
yeah.
And now Willow has 2 titles. Or she lost the Japan title, right?
I don't know if she did or not.
But now she gets the Owen title.
She's the Owen Hart champion, huh?
Good for her.
Yeah, they've really been pushing her.
She's good. Tony needs to take that goddamn hat off.
I'm not there yet. Is Martha out there?
No, just Tony in his Toy Story hat.
Boy. Yeah. That's something.
Watch Punk win, and he walks up to the cup, and he just knocks it over, and then keeps on walking to the back.
What is that's a cowboy hat, isn't it?
Yeah, because the Calgary Stampede, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I can't find anything on the All In now on the tickets, but last I read, they're now gonna vie for an attendance record better
Yeah.
than WWE.
Yeah. Yep.
So that'll be interesting if they could do that. I was listening to After the Bell today. It's Corey Graves' podcast. He had Big E on it, so I listened to it. But before he had Big E on, him and the other guy were just talking for a few minutes about doing a recap of Money in the Bank or whatever.
Yeah.
And they mentioned about John Cena coming out. And then the one guy was like, they were just talking a little bit about how John Cena talked about a WrestleMania in London and or in England or whatever. And then the guy's like, well, it's got to be at Wembley. Where else would you have it? It's got to be at Wembley.
Right.
In my head, thinking like, oh yeah, of course you guys are gonna say that now.
Side note, was that the podcast that Big E said he's technically been cleared to come back, but he just doesn't know when the date will be? Or he's 100% healed. He just doesn't know when he can percent heal. He just doesn't know when he can get cleared to come back.
Yeah, I didn't hear him say he was cleared, but he said he's doing his workouts as normal, his strength is good, everything is
it's fine, yeah.
Yeah. But no.
Oh, so are we switching over to Battle of the Belts right now?
No, because you haven't seen Punk and Ricky yet.
Oh, that got really dark for Ricky, huh?
The Battle of the Belt starts at 10, technically.
Oh, good. Can't wait. I'll set my DVR. But, did you have anything else That House of Black? Yeah, that's House of Black. That's Brody. Because there's no other human that's that size. With a dog chain.
That's interesting. Like they're not giving a ton of time for Punk and Starks then if they've got House of Black doing a match too.
Kings of the Black Throne in action. I hate that they fucking says that. I hate that they. That grinds my gears, Dan.
Why do you hate that?
Because it's the House of Black. But Malachi made a quote once of being the king of the Black Throne, and now ever since then, the announcers have stuck with that. And I heard because they said they like that a lot better. I go, everybody knows them as the House of Black. Every T-shirt they have, House of Black. My Brody T-shirt, House of Black. But so if we're done with AEW, there's one more thing I wanted to discuss. If that's okay with you, Daniel.
Let's do it.
All right.
Feed me more.
Oof. Okay, maybe two more things. But
oh, I thought that's
no. I'm starting to have a issue.
Uh-oh. With
certain wrestle. You know what? I'm starting to have an issue with the Click This podcast.
Oh, you were upset this week for sure. When you texted me on Monday, you were on fire over Click This.
And that's not even the issue.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your problem? I have not
So-
listened to it. I think I'm one behind.
So,
Okay.
do you think LA Knight is disrespecting the wrestling business by what he's doing? Yes or no?
That's the one I'm behind. I haven't heard this one yet, but I've seen snips and clips of some of the stuff said.
Well,
No.
He's
I
talked
don't
about
think
this guy in like past ones too, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I know he doesn't like him.
so
No, I don't think so.
and are you in agreement that wrestlers basically grow off of who they grew up watching and who they work with on the roads? That's how they adapt their styles and their skills?
To a degree, yes. The good ones make it their own, though.
Because they know how to blend it into what they do.
Yeah.
Okay. So explain to me the whole problem with LA Knight. Because to me this sounds like it's a lot of old guys saying you've been around for so long and you finally get the push because of this. But if you listen to any podcast, he tells you he's brought them thousands of ideas. And they've told him, no, just wait till we have something ready for you. No, just wait till we have something ready for you.
I mean, at this point, my theory on him now, and this may have been something that just happened in the last month to 6 weeks, maybe, is that the more they stop him from going forward, the more the crowd wants it. And they are building it and building it. And this is a bigger and better build than Cody and Roman, right? Like this is better than Daniel Bryan, his build. It's better than Kofi Mania in that sense, right? Because they're not outright holding him back. They're subtly doing it. The people that know more about the business understand that like he's just not being given he's getting the chances and not being given the opportunity to go over in the chances. So, and I mean, when he walked out last night and did his thing on SmackDown, I mean, he just had the crowd eating out of his hand for 5 minutes and then he walked it back and that's it. He didn't do anything.
And he screwed up 4 words in it.
Right. And they went crazy. So, but now I'm thinking like in the back, they're probably like, this is exactly what we want. We are going to bring you right to the edge of hating us and wanting it so bad that you're about to give up, and then boom, he's going to get it.
So is this going to be the Daniel Bryan thing all over again?
I think it's going to be better than that.
Right, but
Because
like that same type of stir up to get
yeah,
everything going.
I think so. I mean, like I said, they won't outwardly do it. It'll be much more subtle, but fans will know like he's just not getting the chance, right? Like, or he's not being given the deal.
Yeah,
Who the hell is House of Black Wrestling? Who is this
a
guy?
couple of scrubs, and
What are we doing here?
it's just for Brody and Balak. Okay, that guy landed on the top of his cranium. That did not look good, and Brody's gonna throw you out of the ring because you're a third of his size. So my whole thing this past week and a half, I was hoping for LA Knight to win Money in the Bank. I was really hoping for it.
I think a lot of people were.
Big time. I was really hoping for it. I was in that crowd. Oh, here we go. Charlotte's abusive husband's back. So this whole week and a half has sounded to me like a lot of old guys just complaining that they're not in the limelight, and it's just straight from the path of like what's been done. But we've seen the same stuff over and over again in wrestling. It's just been enhanced or been done better, or they've taken the moonsault off the top rope to doing the 450 on the top rope.
Yeah.
So why is there such an issue? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's driving the wrestling business, right? It's been driving the business since he's got hot, right? One of the things. It's been helping all the shows. Which helps the company stock. Which all the retired legends have been given company stock. Which they're getting paid from LA Knight basically going out there and saying, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand where this beef is. He's not disrespecting anybody.
I don't know.
I just find this to be the weirdest. I just find this to be the weirdest. Let's throw this out there and discuss this because this kid's getting hot. Because, like you said, the more that they hold them back, the fans want it even more. I think it's going to tap in with the way that these podcasts are talking about him. Everybody's crapping on him, and all of a sudden people are going to be like, that's fine, crap on him. We're still going to scream.
Yeah.
So it's just adding to it as well. So I don't know. It was just kind of weird and very disheartening to me that, like, legends that grew up, some would say by being carried by other legends, when you're only a big man and no corner booth, sidewalk slam, backbreaker, power bomb, choke slam, clothesline, and my favorite, because no one can do one, the big boot. That all of a sudden we're worried about what somebody that's been on the indies for 20 years have done. That's been a title holder at Impact. And even he said that didn't really count because nobody was watching. So, like, to me, I don't know. I just found this very disheartening to the wrestling world. Like, there's enough of this going on Twitter with the back and forth about what's better, AEW, WWE, and it's just kind of like there's nothing else to talk about wrestling wise than LA Knight coming out there getting the crowd stirred up and going crazy. Like, there's nothing else to talk about. There's no other young guys you want to discuss. There's no other stories about CM Punk that you want to just create out of the air. Like,
Bill.
there's no other stories about people walking out backstage because he showed up. Like, what are we doing? Like, as this being a podcast topic, like, to be the past 2 weeks of wrestling podcast feel like they took the easy way out. Just because it felt like it was just direct slander to LA Knight for no purpose at all. But then again, controversy creates cash.
Yes, it does.
A bald guy once told us. Also, my other grind my gears this past week. I
It's about a bald guy.
I'm gonna address him directly. Mr. Ryan Reeves in Kissimmee, Florida, aka Ryback. What are you doing? What are we doing? You put out a poll every weekend on Twitter. What should be my last match? 87% of the time it comes back saying nothing. You still sit there and say feed the big guy. Feed him what?
Goldberg.
It's not happening. Because Goldberg's going to be at Wembley. Goldberg will be at Wembley because Dixie Khan got it locked in and ready to go. And for all that is holy in this world, if you're going to dox somebody, don't get blatantly caught doxing somebody. Because you're just a loser and you suck at it. The weekend that this guy has had, if Twitter is stopping tweets past a certain amount, they have to be stopping the amount of blocks that everybody's been doing. His blocks has to be in the hundreds of thousands of people. The Botch Wrestling Podcast Twitter feed being one of them too. Which is good for business because controversy creates cash.
Yes, it does.
This guy won't go away, Dan. Just go away. Just go away. Nobody cares anymore, Ryan Reeves. Nobody cares. Nobody cared when you did wrestle. You almost killed Philip. Nobody cares. Twice. Because you're a big dumb idiot. So nobody cares. And there's one sad thing I wanted to discuss. I know we both weren't like a huge fan of his, but did you see the issues that are going on with Braun Strowman?
No. He's hurt again, right?
He had to have neck fusion surgery. And the left side of his body has been completely numb.
Uh-oh.
The C4 and C5 vertebrae. I don't know if we ever saw his character hit the full potential that it could have been. Thoughts?
No, I don't think they ever did either. I mean, he's another one that's been up and down, up and down, up and down, and I don't know that they ever figured it out.
Right. And now, do you think a lot has to, a lot of that has to do with the fact of what was going on with Bray at the time?
I don't know, because he's been up and down after Bray too, right? Like, there was a time when he was like...
He was hot.
he was hot for sure, and then they just squandered it
Once again, can't get out of their own way.
with some of these guys. Yeah, they really can't.
So, but yeah, I just those last two things, really just kind of bugged the crap out of me. Braun, I'd hope you get back, get healthy, get back to doing your running power slam. Because being paralyzed on the left side of your body has to be pretty insane.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, so uh, yeah, and I'm just. Have you seen what the card is for Battle of the Belts?
Yeah, it's terrible. I think it's Orange Cassidy against Lance
Land
Archer with
with Jake the Snake,
Jake the Snake in his corner.
Tony
Tony
Storm,
Storm. I
and
don't even know who she's facing.
that Valkyrie. So George, take it easy on the tissues.
Is he one of our 5 listeners?
No, I don't think he even knows.
Probably not.
And Sean
Um,
Spears versus Luchasaurus. The bad
okay.
Luchasaurus, though.
Yeah, with Christian. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, nothing great.
no.
It's only
So,
going to be they've actually I think they've done a terrible job with Battle of the Belts in general.
yes, agreed.
As a show, as a feature, like it was supposed to be like a quarterly special deal, and it's just been a little bit better than a house show. Probably not even better. I mean, I went to the one in Rhode Island. It was fine. It was good, but it wasn't. It wasn't anything special, you know.
So, before we go, then, how would you book this? You told us how you would try and fix the Cody and Reigns issue. What would you do differently with Battle of the Belts besides get a support staff?
That's all they need to do. But I mean, what I would do is, I mean, it's tough because you don't know like what night to put it on. Like that's the problem. They've been doing it on Friday nights and Saturday nights, which makes it have to be at 10 o'clock. Like it's always been later, right? It's always been 9, 10 o'clock, right? For the most part. And so they need to throw it on. I mean, maybe they could swing doing it on a Tuesday night or something like that, or a Thursday night, right? Like, or don't have a Rampage that week and put it on a Friday night, I suppose, and see if you can get it. But it's got to be, there's no build up to it either. I didn't even know it was on tonight until I was looking at a website and it said Battle of the Belts 7 results. And I'm like, Battle of the Belts? I didn't even realize there was one.
Right.
Like, what's the point of it? It's the third hour of Collision technically tonight,
Right.
you
Pretty
know?
much, right.
And a lot of people probably aren't going to watch it.
And they got
And
to
I
fit.
don't know if it's live or if they, my guess is they probably taped it before
Before.
Collision.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. Like they just don't make it special at all. When they announced that they had a deal with, because this was right, they originally announced a deal with TNT to do a quarterly special show, right? And it was kind of mimicking the old I don't know, they were stealing from like whatever Jim Crockett did or WCW did, right? And or it was like a Saturday night's main event type deal, right? And they just haven't done any build up with it. There's been no like real marketing with it. So like I mean there's a lot they need to change. And maybe they're not doing it anymore after this year. Maybe it's just a dead product, which I could see, you know. Because I can't imagine Warner Brothers wants to keep doing it when they just signed this other show.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, I thought this for sure would be cut since we got Collision. I didn't. I like you said. I didn't even know that this was on. I'm surprised it still runs. We'll have to wait and see if this continues to run or whatnot. Um, I don't know. It's tough, man, because you never want to see them take a wrestling show away because then that's opportunities for people to work that might not ever get that opportunity. So it's kind of like, what are they going to do? You know? So, yeah. But was there anything else you would like to discuss on episode 8?
I think that's it. I just, you should let people know, there's a chance they should watch out for us. We might be in Pittsburgh on August 6th.
What's August?
So
Oh,
stay tuned. Stay tuned. Because maybe we'll put out some shorts on YouTube of what's going on at Toy Palooza. And if there's wrestling figures, you never know. You never know. There might be some shorts on YouTube August 6th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My wife, we were going to talk about this, so Dan kind of brought it early. Once again.
She knows. She knows.
Yeah, so on that note, Ryback, please go away. No one really cares. Goldberg, please stay away. No one's been talking about you. And congratulations to Jon Moxley on winning gold at the NAGA, not the MAGA, the NAGA, Cincinnati Grappling Championship today. Renee posted a picture of him and his daughter holding the gold, so that's pretty cool. Good for him. I'm glad to see he's doing well, not back off the wagon and accomplishing what he wants to, because he is talented. And one final thing, whenever you're commenting on this guy's photos, please stop commenting, "Did he bleed?" ? On every picture. It makes no sense. Save it for when it's appropriate, or don't even use it. Okay? That's it. Episode 8. I'm Jim. That's Dan. We'll be back for episode 9 sometime next week. Adios.